Welcome back to Better Than Before. Tony Richards here. We've got our special guest, Jennifer Holland, on the line today, one of only 37 certified brand strategists in the United States. Jennifer Holland evolves a client's brand and culture from the inside out. She's got 22 years of award-winning expertise. She guides clients through brand development to craft innovative, unique signatures for their products and services. Holland People Plus Brands proven success, the Holland Helix, creates double-digit growth for businesses. It aligns business, brand, people strategies for employee engagement, brand activation, and creative execution. Since 2013, Jennifer's Build Your Brand workshop events have taught hundreds of growth-oriented business to Holland Helix. This summer, she's launching her first Build Your Brand online summer school, and we're going to talk more about that. She's a known thought leader in brand strategy and delivers top-rated keynote presentations, trainings, and workshops for private conferences and company engagements all over the country. And she's an expert resource speaker for Vistage International and a professional level member of the National Speakers Association. She was the Jacksonville Business Journal's 2015 Women in Business Established Entrepreneur of the Year and one of the 2015 Women of Influence. In 2016, she was chosen as one of 4 certified brand strategists to serve on the Leadership Council for the Brand Establishment, which certifies brand strategists and develops branding best practices. Welcome, and thanks so much for doing this.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
You've had some success over the years doing the Build Your Brand workshop, as I mentioned in your bio. Tell me about that particular workshop and what sort of things you do in it and what clients get from it. I mean, in your bio, you're talking about getting double-digit growth. Let's just talk more about that. How did you come up with the idea and what happens during a Build Your Brand workshop?
Well, they're actually 2 different things. One leads to the other. The first thing is, and as you know, because we do the same work, when my partner and I came up with the Holland Helix, which aligns your business, your brand, and your people strategy into one thing, that changed our world, rocked our boat, and changed our clients' world. And we ended up doing a ton of research, and the research was published in the International Journal of Brand Strategy as what was going to happen with brands. It was the future of brand. And it truly has happened. More and more, we see that people have to have the culture. They have to have the brand promise and the culture that delivers on the brand promise. And they have to have that business strategy alignment that ensures what we're communicating is what we're building, is what we're delivering. And that's what that model is.
Now, for our listeners who may not be familiar, tell everybody what the brand promise is.
Okay, well, I'll give an example.
All right.
There's a sandwich chain that's done very well. It's a franchise chain called Jimmy John's. I'm not sure if they have them there where you are.
Yep.
Okay. Well, they have clarified their message into one simple brand promise. It's 2 words, actually. It is
freaky fast, right?
That's it. Boom. Parking space in your mind. Okay. So that is the brand promise. And that came from, I'm sure, a lot of distillation, just like we do in our processes, you and I. But they hardwired that freaky fast into their operations, ensuring that the systems and processes were set up to deliver on freaky fast. They're communicating freaky fast. They're making it memorable with, bicyclists that jump over a train to deliver it freaky fast. And then they're hiring people who are capable of delivering freaky fast so that when you go up to that cash register to place your order, your sandwich is ready before you even finish placing your order, delivering upon freaky fast. So the brand promise is freaky fast. All the pieces and parts that go into that had to hardwire from the one thing, had to all stem from the one thing, the one brand promise. That's brand clarity. If you can distill down your unique value propositions, your purpose statement, your customer benefit statement, and you get all that down into 1 or 2 words that can be your brand promise, you got a decision-making lens.
So you and your partner came up with the Holland Helix model. And tell me one way you kind of align the business and the brand and the people.
Well, the first thing we do is if we are repositioning a company, we make sure that whatever positioning line or tagline we come up with is one of substance, that it can be hardwired, or I keep using that word, but can be engineered within the processes inside the business strategies. It can be communicated externally, customer cares about it, but also it has to be capable of building reward systems and core values. Everything should come from this one value inside the culture. It becomes the engaged culture because they care about this promise that has been developed and communicated. So that positioning line has to be capable of doing all those things. And if it doesn't, I feel like businesses are wasting resources and wasting time. People who come up with an employer brand, oh, we got our brand and then we've got our employer brand. Really? Make it one thing. Let's simplify things a bit. Nobody can remember that many things. And at the end of the day, if you get high enough in your thinking, you absolutely can create an emotionally compelling brand positioning line that will apply to all.
I'll tell you something else that I've encountered that's hardwired into clients' brains. And that is, I had a client, this has been quite some time ago, but I had a client and we were working on their total business strategy, and brand development was part of it. And no matter how much I tried to convince them to change their pattern language to brand development, they kept calling it branding. And I would say, no, it's not branding, it's brand development. And then a week or two later, are we going to talk about branding again? And I'm like, okay, I give up. You win. Call it whatever you want. But that's a misconception, right? It's not branding. The branding is a separate thing from brand development. What other misconceptions do you encounter with people?
Well, first of all, I agree with you on that one. That is probably the biggest. People do not seem to understand that brand development is the corporate initiative, that it is a strategic initiative, that it starts with the CEO, and that branding is after we get the message right and turn it over to marketing, they get to do all the sizzle and the ads and the website. So that's a huge one. You still sometimes run across folks that think of rebranding as a new logo and a new look. They don't understand the strategy side of it, the blueprint you're creating for your business and your brand. That still comes up. I think more and more business owners are starting to get it, but there is a big gap in the marketplace. I think the larger companies are finding that the research is showing that if you are a purpose-driven company and you lead with the brand promise, and you've got people who are connected to that brand promise, your business grows. It's more profitable. Everything works. And Gallup just recently had a study on this. I think it was that when the employees and the customers are connected to the brand promise, so the customers are experiencing it, the employees are delivering it, those customers give those businesses twice as much share of wallet. Wow, that's pretty good.
Well, I think it's because a lot of business folks have not worked from a strategic perspective before, but they've seen a lot of outcomes and they've seen a lot of advertising and they've seen a lot of logos. So that's their point of reference. And when you try to talk strategy to them, sometimes they get a little lost because that is not something they do, nor do they see it every day.
Not only that, I think there is, to your point, big, almost a fear of strategy. They don't understand, too abstract, don't understand. But the big thing is there really hasn't been the brand education. There's a big gap for people to understand it. From the time we started hearing about brand in the 80s, when businesses were really getting sold for big multiples on the intangible value of their business, nobody prepared any education for people to really understand that. Most marketing students, they get one class in brand. I've had students come to these Build Your Brand workshops and they're like, oh my gosh, I learned more in this 1 4-hour class than I did in my entire college career. Marketing covered in the same way. Now, to be fair, I do see a shift. I see some changes. I see some specialty programs popping up with Harvard, and I've seen some of the other institutions coming up with a little bit deeper education on brand, but it's still a huge gap. And the entrepreneurs that are popping up, there's nowhere to get it, which is, to your other question earlier, is why I developed the Build Your Brand, because there's nowhere to get this information. And by the time they come to us and they're trying to understand, like just with your client, your recent client that was having a hard time using the different vocabulary of brand development and branding, those kinds of things take too much time. Client doesn't want to pay for that education, but they desperately need it. They don't want to pay for it on your dime. At our level, it doesn't make sense, right? I'm going to go to school with you and you're going to, no, at the end of the day, it's their brand. It's their brand.
So in the Build Your Brand workshop, you do a lot of strategy, right?
We do a lot of education, and then we apply that education. So they learn strategy in the process. The goal is to understand the full brand development process and to give them the formula and the tools for them to be able to go and do this work on their own. That said, many folks, after they've come to it, they love the education because now they're smarter and they understand and they get it and they know what they got to do. But at the end of the day, they don't have the level of education and expertise that you and I have. So I would say probably 30% of the attendees or participants do end up calling me and wanting me to at least help get that first, get the distillation down of what's truly unique and ownable, get the communication right. What is that one sentence? And then get the positioning right. After that, now they got it. And if they want some time, sort of a consulting arrangement where we can go in, I'm sure you do this too, we go in and we help them bring it to life through their people and how to communicate it through their marketing, and also with their people helping to ideate what other business practices and processes or roadblocks need to be addressed.
I think one of the more difficult things about it is when a prospective client says, show me some of the work you've done. And then many times I'm like, well, I could, but it really doesn't have anything to do with your brand, because what they're wanting to see is ads, right? And they're wanting to see somebody else's outcome, which is going to be different from the same formula, right? You're going to use the same strategic formula on their business, but their outcomes may not be anything like somebody else's, which is the whole point.
Right, totally different. In marketing, you'll see people who want to stay in those specific verticals by the industry, right? Mm-hmm. You want an agency that stays within this vertical, or I only want people who deal with car dealerships. I only want people who deal with restaurants. I only want people that deal with hospitality, whatever it is, retail. Well, that's all fine and good for marketing, although you're not getting the freshest thinking, first of all. But on the brand side, I personally think that a much better selection would be to choose, a much better choice would be to choose someone who has the depth of expertise in what you're looking for, and that is the brand development process. I consider myself a specialist in the horizontal of brand development and not focused on any one vertical, because it's totally different, right?
Right. It could be applied to any industry.
Absolutely. As you know, the formula works, right?
Yeah. Just tell me you can do a good swoosh in my logo. That's all I want. So you've taken this Build Your Brand concept and you've developed a webinar series around it. So tell everybody about that.
Well, it basically does everything that the 4-hour in-person event does that we've been doing for years and that people love. But we've taken it and I've created 10 different sessions, which allows folks to work on pieces and parts along the way, because the number one feedback item that I get is, I wish we had more time. I mean, when we did it for 3 hours, they wanted more time. When we went to 3.5, they wanted more time. We went to 4, they want more time. So this allows them to have space in between, and I give them homework and worksheets. I mean, we have a workbook in the in-person event. I provide worksheets along the way and really kind of handhold them along the way. And I'll give them feedback on what they're developing.
Well, we've been talking with Jennifer Holland of the Holland Helix. And you can find out more about her practice at hollandhelix.com. Thanks so much for being on today. You are such a good friend, and also I respect you so highly as a professional. I really appreciate the time you spent with us and all the brand education you shared with everybody.
Well, I'm a mutual fan club, Tony. I feel like you are absolutely of the same mindset, and I always enjoy talking with you.
Receive weekly coaching tips from Tony Richards, delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a CEO or an entrepreneur, Tony can help you reach your goals and give you a competitive edge within your industry. Tony's Monday morning coaching memo covers topics ranging from leadership development to teamwork to company culture and more. Text the word leadership to 38470 to sign up for Tony's Monday morning coaching memo, or sign up online at clearvisiondevelopment.com.